There's another story of great horror that emerged yesterday, and I didn't really cover it yesterday because I was I was reeling from the effect of its narrative. We gather in the shade of this horror. Another brutal stabbing, this time in Leicester Square in the heart of London, that sends waves of grief through our communities. 11-year-old girl and her mother, innocent bystanders to the chaos of our times, violently attacked by a stranger. And this act of senseless violence occurring in broad daylight in one of London's busiest areas calls us to reflect on the deep and troubling issues that have eaten into our society. And the immediate response to such an incident is often one of shock, of course it is, followed by this urgent need to explain, to understand why such events occur. And in the wake of this tragedy, we have to confront the uncomfortable realities that underpin our troubled society at the moment, realities that are often exploited by far-right elements to sow division, fear, hatred, and to build unity in those far-right blocs. One of the most pernicious narratives advanced by the far right is the idea that violence in our streets is somehow the inevitable result of cultural diversity, or more insidiously, that it's the product of an influx of immigration, that it's a product of immigrants, foreigners, the stranger among us, who is to be feared. This narrative is not only false, but it's dangerously simplistic. It preys on our fear, on our insecurity, offering an easy scapegoat instead of addressing the complex social issues that have led to such tragedies. The Leicester Square attack challenges this xenophobic perspective in stark terms. The attacker was not a person of colour, not an immigrant, not someone easily characterised as the other by those who traffic in hate. He was a young white male, a reminder that violence knows no racial or ethnic bounds. The assailant's apparent mental instability further complicates the issue, pointing to systemic failure in how we address mental health in our society. And there's another issue at the moment as well about that. A lot of this is to do with the failure of our society to deal with the troubled. And this incident, like many before it, highlights the critical failures of our social systems, particularly concerning mental health. We live in a society where mental health systems, where the services are overstretched, underfunded, stigmatized, and slow. The signs of distress are often visible, as in the case of the Leicester Square attacker, who was seen talking to himself and behaving erratically hours before the attack. Yet these signs were unheeded, or were ignored, or were bypassed, leading to this catastrophic consequence. What does it say about us? What does it say about our priorities? How can we as a society allow individuals to fall through the cracks so profoundly that their only outlet seems to be violence? These are not questions with easy answers. They are questions we have to confront if we are to prevent such tragedies in the future. We need to take away the tools for these tragedies, but we need to repair the damage done to individuals in our society by perhaps our inflexibility, our tardiness, our inability to act swiftly and to act decisively and to protect. The Leicester Square attack also focuses us to consider the role of society in preventing and responding to violence. The bravery of those who intervened, the shop workers, the passers-by who risked their lives to save a child, remind us that community spirit and human decency still thrives, even in the darkest moments. Their actions were a direct counterpoint to the narrative being pushed, this narrative of division being pushed by the far right. These individuals didn't ask about the victim's background or the attacker's ethnicity. They saw a human in need and they acted immediately. They put themselves in danger to help. This instinct to protect, to support another, is a true strength of our society. It stands in stark contrast to the divisive rhetoric that tries to tear us apart. But this instinct alone is not enough. We must couple it with a commitment to systemic change, a commitment to building a society where mental health is taken seriously, where violence is not seen as an inevitable outcome, and where every individual is valued and supported. And the ambulance said we were called at 11:36 a.m. on Monday, August the 12th, to reports of a stabbing in Leicester Square. And it's Rahul, the security guard at Greg's, says, I was inside, but I came outside when I heard the noise of a girl crying, "Mummy, mummy." There was a lot of blood when I went there, on the girl and on her hands. And the 29-year-old who helped directly, who gave his name as Abdullah, who worked at the nearby TWG tea shop, he said, I heard a scream. At that moment I saw there was one person roughly mid-30s or early 30s, and he was stabbing a kid. I jumped on him, held the hand in which he was carrying a knife, and just put him down on the floor and just held him and took the knife away from him. Then a couple of more people joined as well, and we just held him until the police came. It took maybe 3 or 4 minutes for the police to arrive, and then they took him into custody. I just saw a kid being stabbed, and I just tried to save her. It's my duty to save her. That is the call to action. That is the instinct to protect and support one another. That is the that is our true humanity. But we can't just rely on a hero, Abdullah. We also need systemic change, a commitment to building a society where mental health is taken seriously, where violence is not seen as an inevitable outcome, where every individual is valued and supported. We need to resist the easy answers offered to those who want to exploit our fears. The far-right xenophobic narrative is just wrong. It's dangerous, but it's wrong. It diverts attention from the real issues: mental health, social alienation, systemic inequality, and it offers nothing to build. It's destructive, not constructive. We need to build a society where everybody cares, where we care for the most vulnerable, where we see an individual as part of a common humanity. And this sort of tragedy should be a wake-up call. This tragedy, the tragedy in Southport, should be a wake-up call. Of course, we need to think about how we can monitor the sale, the use, the spread, the transport of knives. There's already laws which make it illegal to carry a knife in a public place. But I seriously think the microchipping of knives would be a way forward. It would increase the price slightly of a knife. But, and I know I'm mocked for this, but the fact is, this is a policy which was carried out in China, and it was efficacious. Now, I think it was a policy that was wrong in the circumstances, because it was designed to intimidate, to abuse, to target the Uyghur community. But it proved that the technology exists and the technology is efficacious. And we have a problem that needs dealing with. And this would be one tool that we could make use of, one tool among many. But most importantly, we need to galvanize society as a whole. We need to convince the far right that they're wrong. We need to build a society where violence is not just condemned but prevented and discouraged, and where every child, every mother, every person can walk the street without fear. Yes, these are dangerous times. Danger is just down the road, certainly in neighbouring countries. But there are also times of opportunity, an opportunity to reject hate, to embrace our shared humanity, to work together to heal deep wounds in our society, and to do so fast.